So CFA or FRM? A very common question for students thinking of getting into the field of finance. And if you go on places like LinkedIn and you ask people who either one of the qualifications, most likely they're bound to confuse you even further, or they'll be very biased based on what qualification they have. So hopefully this video should clarify. The video is a detailed understanding of the difference between CFA and FRM. So let me get into it. First, let me give you all the difference in the features about eligibility, the exam structure, the scope and the fees, the salary obviously. And then let me tell you all about the approach which you should follow, discarding just the aesthetic features. So what do I mean by that? Let me start. With respect to eligibility, okay, whether you do CFA or FRM, the eligibility criteria is the same for both. You can only start in your final year of graduation or above. Simple as that. So when it comes to the exam structure, right? See, CFA is much more detailed in the field of finance and investments. So if you would like to get into the real world and work with investment banks, work with hedge funds, work with in finance advisory, CFA is the better course for you. The time it takes to complete CFA on an average is 2 to 3 years. It's slightly longer than FRM, but as you'll see later, it might just be worth it. When it comes to FRM, FRM is a specialization in risk. Now, the scope of risk is exploding in this world with respect to whether it is finance risk, whether it is mitigating risk with respect to cybersecurity and things like that. People, whether you work in big banks, you work in private investment banking firms, private hedge funds, everyone is trying to mitigate risk. FRM kind of qualifications are going to increase in demand worldwide in all these profiles. So the advantage of FRM is that the overall qualification you can complete in a year and a half. So with respect to CFA, FRM takes a shorter period of time, and it just might be what some of you are looking for. Now, when it comes to the scope, I'll try and be as clear as possible. The scope in CFA the scope in India for CFA is much higher than FRM. That's it. The scope of CFA in the world is also much higher than FRM. But that being said, it's not always going to be the case. The scope for FRM is increasing, and there might be a time when FRM catches up or even exceeds CFA in the future. As of now, if you're not sure and you're thinking for the next 5 years, you don't mind either risk or finance, my suggestion to you would be think about CFA, because definitely FRM is not going to exceed it in the next 5 years. But if you're the long-term thinker, you're thinking of probably moving to another country, you don't want to study again in the future, maybe consider FRM, because while the demand today is lesser, the value is going to grow for those who are FRMs with a lot of experience 10 years later. So that's the scope difference in India as well as overseas. With respect to, by the way, the profiles, a lot of profiles will overlap. So like I was saying, investment banking, hedge funds, banking, CFAs and FRMs both get hired in. So that won't be a major problem for y'all. Even with salaries, with respect to CFAs, if you are a level 3 CFA cleared, you ideally might get a 6, 7, 8 lakh package depending on where you go. For FRM, you probably get 4, 5, 6 lakhs. So there is a slight discrepancy where CFAs do get paid more. Please don't ever let the first salary be a decision maker for your career choice. Even if FRM is lesser, but you can see a long-term growth in FRM for yourself, go for FRM. And finally, the fee structure. Simple, plain CFA on an average will cost you close to 3 lakh rupees total, which includes everything, the exam fees, the registration, the training, the material. When I say material, I mean study material. Around 3 lakhs. FRM on an average will be 1.5 lakhs, again, which includes everything, the exam fees, registration, training, study material, etc. Both are US-based qualifications recognized worldwide. So these are the futuristic aspects of both the programs. If any of these really matter to you, you can take a decision based on these. Now, guys, that being said, when it comes to you personally, the approach you should select, take these into account, but the decision you take on whether to do CFA or FRM should be a little long thought out. Shouldn't be that because you are not sure of what to do and one of them is what your friends are doing or what you've heard about. You heard a lot about CFA, so I'm going to do CFA. Don't take that approach. try and think 5 years, at least 5 years into the future. Do you understand what the difference between finance and risk even is? If not, sit for demo lectures in different training institutes. Go online and research on the difference between CFA and FRM curriculum. Understand where probably you resonate more. Second, what kind of companies? Do you want to work in companies where there is a lot of competition? Because CFA does have a lot of competition. FRM, while competition is lesser because there are lesser candidates, so is the current scope. Third, do you want to stay in India or do you want to move overseas? If you're planning on moving overseas, in that particular country, are both CFA and FRM as recognized as in India or in US? Take all these factors into account when you are deciding for yourself, besides just the duration or the fees or the first salary package. So my last and final suggestion to all of y'all, if y'all are not sure about what to do, in the future we would be uploading videos where we actually talk a little in depth about different subjects of CFA, of FRM. Have a look at those. Sit for certain demos where you actually see what you are going to study. Talk to people who are either CFAs or FRMs and ensure that you understand what their day-to-day work is like. All these things are actually more important than the first part of the video where I explained the breakup. Last and not the least, you guys have a huge advantage because of the fact that the scope overlaps or the profiles overlap. So does a huge chunk of the syllabus. So the last and final thing you can do is you can aim at appearing for CFA and FRM, both, whether simultaneously or one after the other, and have both qualifications to your name. I think the last aspect is something for a lot of y'all should consider, because I've seen people really successful who have both these qualifications. So with that being said, I hope once again we've helped you all clarify differences between CFA and FRM or any two finance qualifications. If there's anything else y'all would like us to help you all with, please put it in the comments. We'll respond. And do subscribe to this channel. We have a lot of videos where we compare other finance and accounting qualifications as well. So guys, wait. Before you leave, I'm going to leave you all with the same old. Do you know what the difference between you and a successful version of you is? The successful version of you would not miss out on subscribing to this channel today.